Hey guys, so you're with Alex Callan on the faction, and today we have Jordan and Lucas from Melbourne band North Road on the line. How's it going, guys?
Very good, thank you.
Great to be here.
Thank you very much. So you guys have just released Wearing Thin, and I know you had like a launch show for it at the Bendigo Hotel last week. How'd that go down?
It exceeded every expectation that we had. We'd, been working pretty hard towards it, just getting, merch and getting the name out there and making sure people knew the song was out. But the actual show was everything we wanted it to be and more. So we were really happy with how it went.
Had you guys headlined at the Bendigo previously?
We had played a show at the Bendigo, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
With a couple of other bands. We didn't headline, but we played, and it was, let's just say they were two very different experiences. This one being definitely better.
It's definitely awesome to see everyone's like physical response in a live setting to that song, and hearing people sing along the words and throw their hands up and mosh around. It's different experience entirely.
100%. And I guess kind of launching the release ultimately, like at the show, how did you notice a difference in the crowd response compared to the songs that you guys had already kind of been playing the last couple of years as opposed to Wearing Thin?
Absolutely. I think that we used to, and we still do, I suppose, but when we play a lot heavier songs, because Wearing Thin is a lighter song when it comes to the rest of our discography so far, but the crowd, so usually we'd go to heavy songs to really get the crowd engaged and move, but what was really surprising to me, at least, was how much people actually were moving to a lighter song, and they were jumping and dancing around. So it was really great to see, and it kind of came as a bit of a surprise for someone who generally goes to the heavy songs to make people move like that.
Definitely. Yeah, that is kind of a bit of a surprise. And especially for a song that the crowd may not know as well, like it's getting introduced. I mean, it's normally the heavier ones with like huge riffs or breakdowns kind of thing that people can just immediately get into. So it is really cool that people can just automatically jump on that melodic side, because it is quite an eclectic song in terms of, like some bits get really heavy, but it is kind of softer for the first minute and a half, and I suppose a bit more like rock based. Is that kind of something that you guys wanted to do, like release a song that was slightly a bit heavier than normal?
Well, yeah, so basically we've gone through a bit of a rebrand in the last few years, sort of aiming to be, I guess, more on the heavier side of things, but still kind of staying in the realms of like rock music. So kind of seeing, I guess, how far you can push rock in terms of heaviness. Yeah, and I think this is a really cool example of that, because it's like very much still a rock song, but it definitely has that sort of the heaviness creeping in
elements
for sure.
Yeah, I literally was driving home with someone after work last night, and we were kind of having a discussion about a song that was playing that we're like, is this rock or is this metal kind of thing? I mean, there's so many songs like perfectly in that middle point. And, I feel for North Road and, an up and coming band, especially in the Melbourne scene, that kind of just opens up so many opportunities as to what bands you can play with, especially, balancing between like clean and heavy vocals and things like that. But yeah, it's really cool. And I suppose Wearing Thin as a song kind of encapsulates that. If I'm right in saying, where is it not about, the metal scene kind of emerging and growing even stronger?
100%. I think that's a really good spin on it. I think, like we were saying, more and more rock bands are going heavy and more metal bands are going rock. And so that line is becoming very, very thin. So we just want to be at the forefront of that new wave of artists who are kind of blending the lines between, that core scene and the more accessible rock that we hear a lot of.
And because I know that, Wearing Thin is the first dose of an upcoming album. So is that kind of what we can expect from the album as well? Because I know that it does tackle some heavier themes lyrically.
Definitely. So once we had kind of completed writing of the album, We noticed like one of the biggest themes being, you know, that whole feeling of being a prisoner in your own mind and not feeling like you can really do anything about that. So I think a lot of those themes carry over throughout the rest of the songs, at least lyrically, but sonically it is quite a wide array of like influences and styles.
I think Wearing Thin as well as a single kind of encapsulates the general mood of the album, because you've got the heaviness and the breakdown, there's the choruses and there's sort of the lighter areas, and also the anthemic sort of riff at the start and that kind of hooky bit, which I think kind of encapsulates the whole album in that kind of song, which is a main reason why we chose to go with that as the lead single.
Yeah, definitely. No, I feel as if, you know, it kind of reels people in as the lead single, and then, you know, if the album goes heavier or goes a different direction from there, people are only going to get more surprised. And I feel that's always good, to be honest. Truthfully, I kind of can't wait to hear the whole album. So was that all recorded with Chris? Because I know he did the single. So Chris Vernon, who's been doing a bunch of stuff lately, and, you know, Bellhaven and Better Half. How was it working with him?
It was great working with Chris. You know, we as a band are a really energetic bunch, so we were definitely going in kind of nervous to see if he could tolerate us for, you know, that long 2 weeks of recording. But he really took it in strides, and he became a very invaluable asset to what we were doing, and we love him a lot. And we also got Joel Adams from Better Half to do the sound for our gig. Which was great to meet him, because we know that he's a pretty big figure in doing sound in the scene. So it was great to meet him as well.
Definitely. And, you know, I suppose being a Melbourne-based band, you guys would have had the freedom to actually get into the studio with Chris and record, because I know I had a chat with Jono from Bloom kind of like a week ago, and they struggled with that, and then eventually kind of had to do some, I suppose, digitally, like, and send it across. So did you guys actually, you know, you got in there for 2 weeks, you said?
We were really lucky. Yeah.
Super lucky.
So was that in between lockdowns, or did you guys isolate for 2 weeks in the studio?
We didn't have Bloom's one was interesting, because I remember reading their story about that song and how it was pretty much all done remotely. And I guess that was a real wake-up call for how, you know, grateful we really were for being able to actually go in and do it. We were really lucky because we had this window of time. I think it was around the end of 2020 and the start of 2021. So it was that period where it was between the two major lockdowns. Yeah. And we were really lucky to actually get in. I think it was probably about 3 weeks in total, but we did have to split it across about a month just because of, you know, and then there was even during that time, there was like a 5-day lockdown or something. So it was definitely there. But we managed to really sidestep it.
Yeah, it would have been, you know, such a difficult process, and especially, you know, being an up and coming band and trying to book everything in. I mean, recording's never a cheap process. So when reschedules and stuff come into the works, it kind of just makes everything so hard. But, you know, I suppose in terms of that, with the upcoming album coming out later this year, is there, you know, potentially a headliner tour around Australia that you guys are looking at doing?
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
We would love to. That's it's definitely in the works, and it's definitely part of our plan. I mean, after the gig at the Bendigo, I mean, I can speak for both of us when we say, like, we don't want to stop. Like, we want to continue that momentum of playing live, because for the first time playing live in so long, it was just such an unreal experience to be back on the stage and playing for people. So we definitely don't want to lose that.
It was definitely like, because it's been, for us especially, you know, I guess every band's had that 2-year period of limbo and whatever, but because we were really coming out of a time of, like, in the past 2 years, we've gone through a lot of changes stylistically and, like, our goals as a band and how we want to present ourselves. And so for us to really have all this in the works behind the scenes for so long and then finally unleash that on stage was definitely very gratifying, and being like, wow, that's what it feels like. It was like that feeling of, like, oh shit, I remember that. Like,
like 100%, especially because, I mean, you know, starting out in 2017, North Road had kind of only, you know, been around for like two and a half years anyway. And then kind of, as you said, cop 2 years of COVID. So that's really hard to kind of get into the swing of things and then have to step back and then get back into it. I mean, like, I've kind of had the same conversation a few times, and yeah, a few different bands have really struggled with it when they've got back on the road and feel like, what do I do when I'm on stage, in a sense?
It was definitely a struggle, but it turned out to be maybe the best thing that's happened to us as a band.
In what regard?
It forced us to take a step back and really look at like everything about us, about like the music, how we presented ourselves, like you said. And it forced us to really plan and take things slowly and analyze exactly what we were doing right and what we were doing wrong. Obviously, there were limitations to that because we weren't exactly able to get feedback because we had no new music out or, you know, anything like that. But we really tried to play it as strategically as possible, starting during those first few isolations, and it's really worked for us. So we were really lucky to be in a situation where we didn't really have that much momentum as a band. So there was low risk in stepping back and just trying things again and starting fresh. So yeah, we were really grateful for that time. Obviously it was difficult, but it turned out to be there was a bit of a silver lining, I suppose.
Definitely forced us to, as Jordan said, take a step back and really just evaluate what do we actually want from this, and what are our strengths, and what are the weaknesses and things that we observe in bands that are doing really well. How can we learn from what they're doing and what we're not doing? And I think as we said, over that 2-year period, it was like, okay, let's actually make the most of this time and work out how we can use it to the best of our ability. Because realistically, you know, you can't record, you can't play live to, you know, the most extent. So it was like, yeah, just trying to use that time for what it's worth and trying to make the most of what was essentially a really crap period of time for a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I suppose because you guys have managed to make that all work and somehow managed to be productive over the last 2 years, which, you know, I give you guys kudos for. I mean, a lot of people have struggled with that. And I suppose in a sense, you know, you have managed to continue kind of just ticking off goals. So what is planned for the rest of 2022? Obviously the debut album's in the works, but then, you know, what else is going on behind the scenes?
Well, before the album comes out, we are putting out another single, which we obviously keep everyone posted on.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't expect another Wearing Thin. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, anything from you?
It's yeah, I think at least the 2 singles, without giving too much away, we want to kind of explore the 2 sides of the album. So we have the lighter, poppier song, and then the big heavy one, which is coming in a bit. That's
always exciting. Like big heavy singles always get me going, to be honest. So when can we, I suppose, be expecting that roughly? Like mid-year, end of year?
It's going to probably be around April to May. We're looking at doing it. Yeah. Yeah,
sick. Well, hopefully it can kind of coincide with the tour. And, you know, I'm based in Melbourne as well, so I actually can get along to see you guys. But with the faction being based in Brisbane, it's kind of really hard. So hopefully, you know, you guys can get up there and manage to show, I suppose, your newly redefined breed of alt rock / metal / merging it all together to the Brisbane crowds.
We'd love to. We'd really love to. Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much for having a chat today, guys. If you've tuned in later, we've been with Jordan and Lucas from North Road. Wearing Thin is out now, and like, honestly, best of luck with that kind of release cycle. I'm stoked that the single launch went really well, and I'm sure we'll have a chat for the upcoming album. But if not, best of luck with that as well, guys. I'm sure it's all going to absolutely kill it this year.
Thanks so much, Alex. Man. Yeah, appreciate it.